Okay, what I tried to do is put together 5, 10, 15 minute talk about the work that we've been doing since we formed the Historical Society. I've entitled it Documenting Our Military History from 1904. That's not a mistake. Really, it started in 1904. In fact, 1902 is probably more accurate. To 2023, how the Southwest Army is connected to that military history. This is done on behalf of the Southwest Army Historical Society. Now, it all starts with the British government. They wanted to give a gift to Newfoundland. They said, we're going to give you guys a ship, and I want you to take that ship and convert it into a training vessel to train naval soldiers. Here she is, fantastic gift. And you might look at that and say, how can that be a training vessel? It was too old to go sailing in. So they took it, sawed off the spars that you see, and eventually produced that. So any of the sailors that went overseas with the First World War, that's where they trained. And you can imagine, that ship was able to train 200 to 300 people at a time. Don't think they had much privacy. Don't think they had their own bedroom, bathroom, that type of stuff there. Now, research began at the rooms, St. John's in 2015, to locate files on individuals who served with the Royal Newfoundland Regiment. That was the first group that we took on. To see the screen itself. There we go. We called the project Where Once They Served. Now, if you look over where Max is sitting, these are just 2 of 13 other banners that we have, but we just brought 2 here for display purpose. The project was called Where Once They Served. Articles were printed in the packet, thanks to the editor at the time, Barbara Dean. Went in and met with her and I said, Barbara, I'm looking at writing a couple of articles. Can I get them put in the packet? So I went home, started writing. Carried up like 3 pages on the story. Went in, I was so proud of them. Here you go. Here's my first story. She looked at me and said, yeah, nice work. Took out her cell phone, put it on the table. I said, try to fit it under there. When you take it and reduce it down to fit there, I'll end up publishing. That led into at least 30 articles being printed on the Royal Newfoundland Regiment from the Southwest Army. This gentleman that you see pictured here is Private Andrew Shaw. I tell people who ask me, why'd you ever get involved with military history? It was because of that gentleman. That was one of the first military files I looked at, and the first thing that grasped my eyes, prisoner of war, Little Arctic Seas. And I'm going, I'm from Little Arctic Seas, nobody told me that. How come? Then I found in these military files a postcard sent to London. Then I read about the fact that his parents received a message, missing in action, presumed to be dead. Imagine. And this postcard showed up in London a couple of months later, and it says, I'm a prisoner of war in Hanover, Germany. I'm asking you to send me some clothing, some medical supplies, and a pack of cigarettes. And when I read that, I sort of chuckled to myself. And then I wondered, well, why was he appealing for that? But back then, the Red Cross took care of the prisoners of war. The Newfoundland and Labrador government announced a funding program in 2016 known as Honours 100. Funding was filed for by the Historical Society. Need new glasses again, I think. And produced for individuals who joined the Royal Newfoundland Regiment. And these are the types of banners that we're talking about over there. These banners were unveiled at the Southwest Arm Academy School in Little Artsees in the fall of 2016. This was sort of the overall heading that we used. And we were really honored in that assembly to have the Lieutenant Governor Frank Fagan and his wife. We were also very fortunate to have their former Lieutenant Governor Ed Roberts, who was also a politician and an expert when it comes to the Royal Newfoundland Regiment. And for me doing this type of work at the time, I was so proud to meet somebody who knew all this stuff. And we had a family, that his family came from all over, but one flew up from Boston, okay, Fred Shaw, just to see his dad's banner that unveiled. And that was quite the assembly that we had in 2016 honoring the Royal Newfoundland Regiment. In 2017, work began on information and photos to document individuals who enlisted and served with the Newfoundland Royal Naval Reserve. The project became known as Where Once They Sailed. And again, there's a banner over here showing that. Interviews were conducted and family members and stories were published again in the packet. And I think altogether, I said to Barbara Dean one time, a few stories have gone in there, and people were following the column, that type of thing. And I think altogether, I probably wrote and had published up towards 100 and something articles documenting our military history in this region. This was one of the first articles on the sailors, and it was featuring the boat, and I explained to people that this column would be running until all of the sailors' stories were told, and that's what you see back there, all these little mini banners, as a direct result of that work. In 2018, funding was obtained again from the Newfoundland government in a program that they called Commemoration 100 years after the World War I. Plans were completed and 87 sailors were honored from the Southwest Army area. And again, this was sort of the overall heading that we used. And the banners that you see back there, the mini banners, these were large banners that we had up on the wall at that time. And I just wanted to feature 5 people who did not come back. Here we have Alexander Peddle from Idris Cove, Luke Smith from Gooseberry Cove, Aitor Smith from Island Cove, and I can't see them, George Stringer, sorry, from the Little Artsees, and Simeon Whalen from Capeland Cove. And there were some others, but we didn't have photographs of these individuals at the time. After the completion of those who served during World War I, the Southwest Arm Historical Society began documenting World War II. And the decision was reached by the committee that we concentrate on the Newfoundland Overseas Forestry Unit. Attention was given to members of the Ladies Auxiliary Territorial Service. These were women from England that had married some of the loggers from here and chose to come to the area to raise their families. So we felt that the women had to be included. The project became known as Where Once They Logged. And while work continued and documenting the Newfoundland Overseas Forestry Unit, if John was around here, he knows, he said, oh no, you guys not have something else. We reached the decision, we're going to put up a war memorial. So we announced it and began fundraising. Thanks to a generous donation of the land, right next to the Lions Club, this project began. This was the first thing we put on the site, announcing that we were open, quotation marks, for business in terms of donations. Fundraising was successful thanks to Veteran Affairs, and I have to speak highly of Veteran Affairs. A lot of the work that you see we're doing around here, they've been very supportive. In fact, as you snack there now, thanks to Veteran Affairs. The Newfoundland Labrador government also helped fund a number of our projects. And of course, I look at the audience here, many people sitting here have donated. And I remember one particular donor, not that, you know, the sum was any different than $5, which is as good as, but one gentleman wrote a check, sort of cut us off there for $5,000 from the Gander region. And that certainly helped us do some of the work that you see out there. Our success led to an extremely busy 2021 year for the Historical Society. That year we planned and completed 2 major projects. That not taken on one, but taken on 2. We unveiled the information on the Newfoundland Overseas Forestry Unit and the ATS, which is the Auxiliary Territorial Service. We also unveiled the monument. And I'd like you folks to realize that that monument you see up there, everything is paid for. There's no money owing on anything there now. This year, the Historical Society and myself, we changed gears and we said, okay, now we're going to look at, get away from the military, World War I, World War II, and look at present day. Our focus was on 2 projects: completion of the storyboard, recognizing the contributions of the Merchant Navy. Now I know you're there going, that's again World War II, not going to cover it. The first thing pops up there, World War II. But these were civilians. These weren't military. And this board that you see is a direct result of that. Present day veterans was the second thing we took on. Documenting all who served from the Southwest Army. I remember Elaine, myself, and Max and a few others sitting around saying, oh yeah, there's probably 40, 50. And then the work really started, and we started identifying people. There were so many people we had to put them into categories. So if you think of the Canadian Armed Forces, there are 3 units, 3 branches, I'll call it. You have the Canadian Army. We identified 38 individuals in that unit alone. Then we developed another template, this time for, and my eyes can't see that one, the Air Force. We documented 35. Then we have the Navy, documented 27. So I thought, we're doing really good. I visited with Wes Stringer, and he listens, and he says, yeah, good job, good job. He said, but what about the Rangers? I said, what? He said, the Rangers. I said, I thought the Rangers were search and rescue. He said, no, they're not. They're part of the Canadian Army. So now, again, we had to scramble and, okay, how do we document these guys? And to date, we've documented 12. Now, I want to mention one special one that I did. We all know that we have the reserves. So we have the Army Reserves, the Navy Reserves, the Air Force Reserves. And a particular person went overseas in World War II, Newfoundland Overseas Forestry Unit, finishes a 6-month civilian contract, signs up for the British Navy, and stayed till the end of the war. He comes back here to Newfoundland, still not finished. He joins the Naval Reserve in St. John's at the HMS Cabot. That person, Clarence Peddler. Now I know there are people also here in Southwest Army that look at the reserves, but we haven't even scratched the surface of that yet. But we know there's already one. Then we put aside time to say we've got to design a board. And this is the board that you see over there. We featured 4 individuals. Now remember, it's 115. So you got to get there and say, okay, how do we do this? And we featured 4, and then we had 6 others included. Now obviously there should be 115 out there. But you talk to any graphic designer and they'll say, you're crazy if you think I'm going to do a board with 115 people in it. So we just chose so many of them to highlight it. Now, this part was very disappointing to me. Not that we didn't secure the funds, but the work never got completed. So we're supposed to be here today unveiling 2 granite gate posts as an entrance to the monument. And if you go up there right now, still wooden. This is what we should have had up there. This is the actual monument, the gate post, that will be out there hopefully in the next couple of weeks. Elaine and myself keep saying hope, hope, right? But we're going to guarantee everyone sitting here they'll be there by July the 1st. Okay? Now, the 2 of them together would look something like this on the site. Now, I'm not a very good graphic person, but the post would look something like that in comparison to what's out there now. Now, if we look at this side here, that's going to be, say, facing the main traffic. That will say Canadian Armed Forces. There will be a silhouette of a man. The other post will have a similar thing, except to be a silhouette of a female. Then the other 3 sides, okay, this side here, on the back and on the opposite side here, there will be an airplane, there will be a ship, a Navy ship, and a tank, representing again the 3 branches, the Army, the Air Force, and the Navy. Now, we wouldn't finish, we did one more thing, and that was take all of the names that we had uncovered, and all of the templates, as I call them, and put it together in a slideshow video. Now, the lady you see standing over there, Crystal Martin. Crystal is my person who I often call upon to say, Crystal, you want to work on this with me? And she goes, oh sure, why not? Right? And she's always exciting to work with. So I sent her the quotation marks, the raw material, and asked her to design a video to sort of take a permanent record of the people that are present-day veterans. At this point, I'll turn it over to Crystal, and if she comes up here, the project is entitled Honoring Present-Day Veterans.
First of all, I want to thank Lester and the Historical Society for involving me in these projects. In my view, it doesn't seem like much, but every little bit adds up. It's like these services, these ceremonies, like it doesn't matter how many people show up, if it's a great crowd or there's a couple of people, everything adds up. Now, while I was doing this presentation, like, oh, slideshow, that's easy, right? But looking at the pictures, like each picture, and you know, unfortunately there's a few slides that don't have a photo, but it has information, the name, the dates. These are all individual people. And I, looking through the pictures, I was like, oh my goodness, that's, you know, that's so, like, I know some of these people who served, and it's like, wow, it's like, so a lot of personal memories began to flood in for me. So yes, thank you, Lester, thank you, Historical Society, for thinking of me. I really do love doing these projects.